I recently found out that one of my old videos has a problem.
It was about this vehicle that I had.
Apparently, YouTube has lost the original audio track.
今日のローガレージにはフェラーリが登場します。
You can see it in 4 different languages.
तो यह एक 4 पहिया ड्राइव motore V8 e lo faremo fare un giro.
Aquí está la parte superior del Ferrari.
But none of them are my original one.
Which is disappointing because this is a very interesting vehicle.
I dug through an old computer and I found the original file I had uploaded, so I'm going to show that to you. But as usual, I don't like doing the same thing twice. So I'm going to add a little bit more to it this time.
I first noticed this vehicle for sale because it had a Ferrari logo on the front. It was made by the Ferrari tractor company that is still in business today and makes some interesting stuff.
It looks like this is a 2-seat version of one of the tractors they made in the 70s and 80s.
It may have originally had a dump bed. As best I can tell, this is a model 933, which is made from 1982 to 1989. Then I found this brochure, which shows a very similar looking Ferrari, but a model 733. This one is listed as a model 738, and this one says model 245. So I don't actually know what model I have, or what year it is. Hopefully that clears everything up. Now let's take a look at the old video.
Ferrari.
Today, on Lowbuck Garage, we have a Ferrari. It says so on the front and everything. It is a real Ferrari. It is made in Italy. It is not a sports car. It's from their tractor division. So this is going to be a 4-wheel drive, V8 powered Ferrari tractor, and we're going to take it for a spin. Let me give you a hint. It's junk. So we're going to be driving junk again. Here is the top side of the Ferrari. Notice the smooth Italian styling. Ferraris are always known for their sleek lines. This one, I believe that's a 45-degree angle. Okay, we've got the Ferrari tractor on the lift, and it's time to take a look at it. You have this beautiful heavy-duty tractor drivetrain, fully articulated, 4-wheel drive, hydraulic steering, locking differentials, all that good stuff. And then someone took out the nice 4-cylinder diesel that used to be here.
Future me jumping in here. Later I found out it was probably not a 4-cylinder, but it looks like it was air-cooled. They removed that nice engine
and added a 318. And they didn't do it well. In order to add this 318, they took the frame, torched it, moved it outboard and widened the entire thing. They made their own adapter plate between the motor and transmission, torched cut out steel. As you notice, the ring gear is completely exposed to the elements. And elements there are because, as you can see by the oil pan, that's severely dented. You also might notice there's a little trail of antifreeze right there leading upwards. Which brings us to another issue. A trail of antifreeze leading up to a welded block.
In the original video, I didn't explain how bad this welding was. Those are all lumps of weld, all over the place, connecting the freeze plug through the block to the oil pan, all welded together.
You also have homemade motor mounts, which aren't that bad. Could be done a little better, but they work. Again, on the other side, we have the frame was torched in a half, widened to fit the motor. No more homemade motor mounts. The exhaust is touching the oil pan. It's got a little bit of a piece of metal around it for a heat shield. Pipes dented in, all going to this welded up steel box which appears to somewhat act as a muffler, and point the exhaust up into the wheel well. It exits at the bottom here. An interesting pattern drilled. Now this wasn't factory. Someone drilled all those holes in to add cooling because, well, when you stuff a V8 in place of a 4-cylinder, it's not going to cool that well. We have an added cross member here from where they widened the frame, and that is bent, so obviously it's hit something. You can see this hitch. Someone pulled something fairly heavy backwards with it because it's actually pulling out part of the frame there. We have the brake cylinder, which, yeah, that doesn't work. I took it apart. It was full of powdery aluminum corrosion type stuff, and I just put it back together. However, we do have brakes. There's an emergency brake on this one. The emergency brake is a lever. Here's the lever right next to the driver's seat. You can't actually put your hand between here to actually grip it, but it does exist. It goes through a cable, connects to a crank, and pulls 2 rods that actually operate the brakes. Now, normally this is fairly reasonable way to do it. The problem is, seeing how the chassis articulates.
By articulate, I mean the cab and the bed are 2 separate pieces that can rotate. You may have noticed that in this photo at the beginning.
The way that pivoting is achieved is the entire chassis is a tube. The drive shafts run inside here. There's an outer sleeve, there's an inner sleeve. Those 2 pivot. It's got an access cover here. There's got to be some attachment in there to keep this tube from sliding out. But the whole thing pivots right there. The bed is mounted directly to the tube. And that's it for the front bed mount. There's nothing else connected at all. Huh. I wonder what that used to be. That part of the frame and that part rotate in different directions, changing the tension on this cable. So depending on what you're driving over, it changes the braking and whether or not you have some or whether the brakes are just on anyway. The tires, since this is about an 80s model, they're probably less than 40 years old and they don't look that bad, and all of them hold air, which is unusual for me. And as you can see, there's not much room for accessories. The alternator's been crammed way over to the side with flimsy extension brackets and can't actually tighten up a belt on it at all. The power steering pump, which is necessary for the hydraulic steering, isn't there. They put it here, right behind the pedals. So when you're operating it, if your foot slips off the pedal, it could go directly into the spinning pulley. Though the way it's spinning, it would probably spit your foot out, so it's okay. We have the fancy ignition switch, on off, choke next to it, starter button right below. The wiring, as you can see, was professionally done. No problems there. The bell housing adapter, obvious torch cut lines. The welded together bell housing, homemade. We have an interesting selection of gears. We have, as you'd expect, one shift lever that does 4 gears. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 gears go the same direction, usually. Right here, you have what would be a transfer case lever. It goes from high, low, reverse. Nope, that's not neutral in the middle, that's reverse. And you know how I mentioned that the shift lever gives you 4 gears? It does give you 4 gears forward. In reverse, you get 3 gears and then another forward gear. That's right, you roll through the gears, you go 1, 2, 3, and then you're going the other direction with the next position.
Looking at the tractor version of the manual, the shift pattern is 1, 2, 3, 7. It appears 7 is always a traveling gear no matter what you do with the other ones.
Over here we have a lever that shifts to 4-wheel drive, and this also locks the differentials, which is nice. Unlike a lot of vehicles that I have, this does have a fuel pump, and it does work properly like it's supposed to. However, there's no tank, at least not mounted to the vehicle. Here we go. Yeah, it's a motorcycle tank in the passenger footwell. So it is convenient for the passenger to be able to fill up the gas while you drive. It does have a convenient shutoff, which is nice. Other than that, not really the best solution, but it works. Okay, let's see about driving this thing.
I gotta briefly mention the suspension. There isn't any, at least as far as these axles go. What we do have is a spring-loaded seat. That's your suspension. It's actually not bad. It's kind of comfy. It's even adjustable because that knob sets the tension in those springs. So you can set your preload easy. day driving junk.
Right after that video, I tried to sell it. And I didn't know at the time, but my listing got picked up by a website. And yet it didn't sell. I figured it might have been because there wasn't much use for one of these out in the desert.
Since I had no luck selling it out west, I hauled it all the way across the country to my parents' house in New England. I figure there's a better market there for interesting vehicles. Advertised it again.
And again, my listing was picked up by a website, and I didn't find out about this until I was making this video. The interesting part about this one is in the comment section, there's a comment left by the previous owner, which had a little bit of history about it.
But it was not picked up by any buyers, so it's still here. It got indoor storage. And here it is. After doing that video, but before trying to sell it, I went ahead and hooked up the tank that was here, which is an old behind the cab style from a Dodge something. Oh, I even used good line on that too. Might even have something in there. See if it has oil. Well, it's definitely got oil in it. I just bought a battery for my boat, but apparently it's going in here now. Someone stole a spark plug wire out of it. Might have been me. We'll ignore that for now. Let's see if it cranks over. That's promising. Oh, there have been some mice in here, but only on the outside of the filter. The inside looks okay. This little bar is the throttle. Apparently it's sticking now. Oh. Moving a little bit. We're getting somewhere already. We find another plug wire and throw something flammable in the carburetor. Stole a wire from a different vehicle and added that. I don't know if the ignition is working right now, but we'll find out. This has electronic ignition on it. You can see the module there. So I'm not worried about the points not working. Since a wire was stolen, I should make sure all the parts are in there. Yep, there's a rotor. We definitely have spark here. Got a little bit of gasoline in a probably clean container. Oops. We'll just pour a little bit down here. That wants to start. Just a little more. More juice. Something's smoking back here. Ooh, that battery terminal is hot. Let's let a few things cool down.
Whatever liquid that was in the tank was definitely getting to the carburetor. You can see the accelerator pump squirting it here.
Got fuel up to the carb.
But I'm not sure how flammable it was. So I kept doing this.
Oil pressure's good. Well, maybe we'll see if this thing moves.
doesn't release anymore. The clutch linkage is mechanical, so it's clearly working, except it doesn't actually release the disc. The disc is probably just rusted to the flywheel. I'm sure it'll free up on use. Huh. That was odd.
A little more fresh fuel. And everything was going great again. Until it wasn't.
Huh. Weird.
So it became add fuel, get it running, drive for a little bit, repeat. I realized it's just a stop-start vehicle. And those are normal now, so I'm going to put it to work anyway. I've got an old car that needs to be dragged out of the woods. It didn't go well. Looks like all but one of the tires are locked up solid. I added air to the locked up tires to give them less traction.
It doesn't tow nearly as well as I expected it to. I bet it needs some kind of load in the bed to have traction.
I disconnected the car so it would be able to drive out of the holes easily. Eventually it worked. Did I mention the clutch never freed up?
Huh. I think I'm going to end the video here. This engine needs a lot of work, but at the same time, it's not worth working on. There's so many issues, it's not worth fixing this engine. It's just a small block Mopar, which happens to be the same bell housing bolt pattern as the 3.9 in the Dakotas, a little V6, which might be a better choice here and make a little more room in the engine compartment. Or it might need a diesel, like it had originally. Honestly, I'm not really sure what to do. I originally bought this just because it was interesting, I wanted to play with it and then resell it. I never actually had any long-term plan for it. And I still don't. I'll figure out something eventually. This sure is an interesting vehicle. Just not the most useful vehicle. Well, I'm going to have fun getting this back to the barn. Hope you're having fun too. We'll see you next time.